again, you mentioned Orson Welles was.
Yeah.
He lived there for a while.
Yeah. So I was born in Morocco in a city called Rabat, and my father is born in a city called Essaouira, which used to be called Mogador. It used to belong to England, actually, at some point. And my whole family, my grandfather, my father, my great-grandfather, they all come from this city. And especially this city has the particularity to have been a heaven for pop stars in the 70s. Jimi Hendrix, the Rolling Stones, Jim Morrison all came to this place and smoked pot and took drugs, made music, chill out in Morocco. This city also had a host named Orson Welles. And Orson Welles made a movie called Othello in that city. And to make a long story short, my family made the costumes for Othello. They all sewed the costumes for Othello, and they appeared in the film as extra, as background extra. And then I moved to France when I was 2 years old. Grew up in the south of France, in Nice, where I grew up amongst Italian people, Italian, French, Catholic, Christian people. Where I grew up my father grew up between Muslims and Jews, So it's quite interesting, intricate. Gave me this multicultural background when I was very, very young, spaghettis, couscous together, and French food. So my background, and when I was about 15 years old, I decided, after looking at a Stanley Kubrick movie, and watching his story, the story of his life, I understood he was a photographer, and he became a filmmaker, probably one of the best filmmakers in the world. And I thought that this is what I want to do. I want to be a photographer and become a filmmaker. After 15 years old, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had no idea how I could get there. And my family told me, "You never get there." But in reality, I did exactly what I said I would do, and it was wonderful. Funny enough, and maybe it's my personality that attracts that, but I never got a really good piece of advice. Really, I often did the exact opposite of what people would advise me to do. And I wish I knew somebody like me, because I know that I can advise a young person very well. And I know I can guide people. And I know that one sentence in the life of somebody can change his life. The exact right piece of advice from somebody. I've met great people, of course, and probably they led me in the direction without even showing me the direction, without telling me where to go or advising me. But this is a very good question, because when I think about it, I don't remember one good piece of advice. Or if anything, a bad advice would lead me to do the exact opposite. Maybe the bad advice was my best asset. It would be about quality, about searching, striving for excellence, striving for quality, being proud of what you do, and doing it the best you can. Because nobody can take that away from you. You gave in your best. Nobody can take it away. But striving for the top quality in what you do. Therefore, cultivating yourself, learning about art as much as you can, become a master in art history. That's what I always say, and and that will put you right away above 95% of the people. Then you can the technique of making films is nothing. It's easy to learn. It takes 6 months or a year to understand it. My son already understands much more than he is 13 years old. He understands much more about filmmaking that I understood when I was 25 years old. And it's not about that. It's really about the culture and the depths of the culture that you have. And that's what I would say to a young person is go to museum, listen to music, learn about photography, learn about architecture, and you'll be a great director. My father was a tailor. His father was a tailor, and his father was a tailor. And they used to cut perfect suits, that would make you look amazing and be very proud of it. They'll have a great clients, politicians and stuff. And I kept that in mind because when it was time for me to make movies, I was never satisfied with the quality of it until it was perfect. I would continue to craft this film to the best of my capacity, and to the point I was investing the money that I would be making into the movie most of the time, and I would end up not making enough money to live. But that was the best advice my father gave me. I grew up with in the 60s, 70s. Okay, I was 10 in 68, and too young to be interested in movies. But the culture around me was Italian, and when I turned to be around 14, 15 years old, my friend and we decided to watch all the Italian movies we could. And we would spend days at the movies looking at the Italian films for the 60s, 70s, which were playing in Nice anyway because of this Italian background. So I saw every movie from this fantastic era, not only the Fellini, the Ettore Scola, the Antonioni movies, but that was basically my surrounding. So I became very, very fascinated by and influenced by his images, especially Antonioni, which I love, which directed also a few films in England, Blow Up, remember Blow Up. But I love the fact that he was such a stylish, elegant director, and every frame of him was just a masterpiece. I love this film called Red Desert, which is for me is a masterpiece. And I also watched all the 70s Ettore Scola movies, which was a different era of Italian movies. Was called how do you call it? Under proletariat, which means there's the underclass beyond the working class, Italian satiric comedies. You'll have the poor Italian people, I don't have titles in my mind right now, but it was this whole very funny movies of this time. Then, of course, my father was completely fascinated by the American influence and the English, because he showed me all the Charlie Chaplin work. And very early on, I watched every Charlie Chaplin with my father. Westerns were also a big influence. People, good white people killing bad Indians. And the French era at this time, living near Cannes, with the glamour and everything. My family used to go to the festival every year, watch movies, big glamours, attend parties, and this was just a wonderful time to grow up because it was naive and it was full of life, full of optimist energy. France was a country with great culture. We had Jacques Brel, Georges Brassens. We had amazing filmmakers, musicians, and it was just fantastic era to grow up. I was lucky enough to get, the first time I got on the set, I was a photographer, and I never had been on the set, I was already a director. Because it was just at this time, in 1986, 87, where it was very fashionable to hire photographers to direct music videos. And I directed my first music videos. I had no idea. I had never been on a set before, on a movie set before. So I did moving images of what I used to do with still, and I told the story in my own way. The funny part that is because at this time we were so highly visually trained to take photographs, and in the movies or video side of things, people didn't have this background. I was a very well-trained fashion, a record cover photographer, and I had my own lighting, mood, and style. And I basically juxtaposed that style into making films. And it worked out. I think that my style of visual filmmaking is how you can convey that we are all living in 2-3 dimensions that are suspended in times and space. As a filmmaker, I love to stretch the space. I can make a 1 second last forever, and I can make 10 years in 2 seconds. That's what I like to do also. That's the capacity. It's almost the capacity of a god when you can stretch time, elongate time, or shorten time, accentuate space, or even shorten it. Just by framing or just by doing a set that looks like in Orson Welles movies, the ceiling is really low and the people are feeling, or otherwise, the big expansive feeling is going to give you a different feel for what you do. The beauty of filmmaking is through images, through sound, through light, music, decor. You can express anything you want, and you can manipulate life, the way you want to. And this manipulation, if it's done in a good way, can inspire people, or can make people feel amazing, can also have people question, understand why this, why that, why am I here, what am I doing? Be a part of the people that change life, changing life through storytelling, through making movies. It was me. It was 2 or 3 other guys like me in France, and some more guys in England. In France, we had Jean-Baptiste Mondino, we had Jean-Paul Good, and 2 or 3 other directors, and me, and we had no idea what we were doing, but in fact, we created a new visual style, which was the MTV style. that at the time nobody, it was a revolution. To the point that people did not want to hire us to make commercials or to make short films or to make movies. They used to say, "Oh, you're not filmmakers. You are just a bunch of clippers making clips." But in reality, that style is now the style that you find in movies, the style that you find in commercials, and it's the standard right now. You need. So at the time, it was very new. It gave me the sense that I was talented enough because people received very well my commercials, my videos right away. They received it in much better than I was expecting. And even though sometimes I was not even aware of the style I was developing, the people understood the metaphoric language of making film. They understood that you don't need to tell a linear story from point A to point B in order to make it a story, especially in music videos, because in music videos, when you have the song, you have the music, you have the world, people don't want to have a story that illustrates the world. They want to be able to listen to the image, to listen to the sound, and they want to be able to dream with the image and to be able to actually have their own imagination. So they want you to guide them through this world, aesthetic or metaphoric or fantastic world that you create, but they never want to have the direct answer for the song. So it was very successful, and very quickly I got nominated to win big international prizes for my work, which I did in Cannes and in England and in France, and I got many awards for the work I was doing. Yeah. Money was never a motivation for me. Actually, I thought when I was young, I thought I would never make any money. I mean, I never even have an idea how you could make money. And the only thing I concentrated on is doing what I love to do. And that was my motivation, because I understood very early on that if you're going to spend 10 hours a day or 20 hours a day thinking about your work, doing your work, you might as well love it. Otherwise, you'll be just miserable like 90% of the people. And my motivation was just to make enough money to be able to do my work. I remember clearly saying that to a client of mine. He said, "What do you want?" I just want to be able to shoot and to do the work I do. I was so into it. I was so ambitious, but not in the wrong way. Not ambitious to make money or to be successful. Ambitious in terms of so focused on wanting to do what I love to do. That money came to me and brought me so much more than I was expecting. And soon enough, I was making tons of money, and I had no idea how I did it. I suppose if you're looking for money, and you will not make it as good as I made it, because when it was time to choose between two commercials, money was never an issue for me, or two music videos. I would always choose what's most interesting in terms of the work. And some people came to me with literally bags of money, saying to you, "Please do that for us, direct that for us." And I would say, "No, I'm not interested." I remember when I was at Ridley Scott's company, RSA, they used to ask me if I wanted to do Marlboro commercial. And they had so much money for that stuff. You could shoot whatever you wanted, and you could have helicopters, you could have any equipment that you would dream of. And they would say, look, you can do whatever you want. And I would say, no, thank you, I want to direct Marlboro commercial. And that was probably what made me, created my motivation and made me different from other directors, because I could not be bought, really. Money was never an issue for me. And funny enough, the more you say no to these guys, the more they want you. So, I had a really good run on commercials, very nice. One day, the head of L'Oréal, the president of L'Oréal, came to me and said, Erick, thank you so much. We just sold 55 million of mascaras. And I realized, well, I'm a weapon in the hands of those people. They have a strategy, and I put my art at their disposal to achieve their goal, which is selling as many things as possible to people that don't really need it. And so my art is, or my technique, or my knowledge is shifted to a direction where I don't really want it to be. Even though I'm happy to make money and I'm happy to serve clients, at the end of the day, I decided, well, isn't there anything else that you could do that would be best for humanity, for people, for the people around you? Would you want to be remembered as somebody that sold 55 million mascaras? It's forcing you into dreams that you don't even have. Actually, advertising, there is an economic, a marketing way of saying, creating a need, creating a dream. By showing you a beautiful car, by showing you an amazing looking woman, a great dress, it makes you dream, and it gives you this artificial dream that you don't necessarily have. Society is designed to direct your dreams in the direction that they want so you can spend your money, and to trap you in a way. That's one of the big reasons that I decided to stop doing advertising, because I realized I don't want to be that person. I can propose things, I can show how beautiful something is, but if I'm influencing, if I influence with my work in the wrong direction, then I really am not in the right place. And I can tell you one thing is, one day I was approached by the American administration to direct a commercial for soldiers, for the American Army. They have huge budget, you can shoot with planes and everything. And it was Bush in power in America. And I said, no, I don't want to send young American to the war. And somehow I knew that he was going to do that. And I didn't want to be part of that. That's one of a small story, but in reality, everything is designed to trap you in a box. You work, you pay your taxes. You work more, you pay more taxes. And the day you want to come out of this mouse trap, you can't. Only a few people are able to get out of that. Well, when you touch that success, you have a lifestyle. I had a lot of friends, and I had lots of, and these friends were like family, and we would travel together, and we'd be living together. We would rent houses. We'd have our whole families traveling with us. I miss that aspect of life. But that's the only aspect that I miss, really. I miss this kind of circus, of people, families together, children. We used to travel like a circus, really. And it was 10 people, sometimes 20 every night at the table, eating. Then the next day we would be shooting, we'd be talking about what we do. It was a very exciting lifestyle, the lifestyle. Do I miss that? Yes. But that's the only part that I miss. I don't miss the successful side, the fact that you're making tons of money and you're doing commercials for big companies. That I don't really miss, because I prefer to do what I do now. But I do miss the lifestyle with all my friends around me, traveling, shooting, laughing all the time. The collectiveness of that part is what I miss, really. It's funny. And if I had to choose a lifestyle, it's the way I would live right now. I would have a caravan and all my friends. I would be going away shooting all together, with our children and family, like gypsies. That's the best lifestyle. Yeah, that's the only thing I regret from this time. The funny part is that you get this lifestyle, but it's not exactly for the right reason, for the right objective. You have the lifestyle of a film crew, a director who is his art director, his director of photography, his assistant, his families, and his actors. But the object, making films, making commercials, being really well paid, treated like a movie star, but just for the wrong thing, for making commercial, which is not enough for me. It doesn't nurture me. It doesn't nurtures me enough. It doesn't fill me up enough. And I'd love to have the same lifestyle. I have to have the opportunity to have that much money, that much financial budget, to be able to do and to shoot my own films, my own stories, and share it with the world. That's what I want to do. This false imagination, this false need, you need to have that car to be happy. You need to have that boat to be happy. But in reality, you don't need to have any of that to be happy. I had the boat, the house, the car, the money. And when I reached that moment, I said, what else is there? What am I going to do? Make more money to buy a bigger boat or a bigger house or more jewelry? It seems ridiculous to me, this escalade into accumulation of goods, At the time, I just went with the flow. It's not like I was hating my job. I love my job. Every time I would be on a set, I would be happy because I can always find something that excites me. Because I love the lifestyle, and I needed to keep going with this lifestyle. And I was young. I did not realize that the implication. I did not realize that while I'm doing that, I'm not doing something more important. And I didn't also realize how I could move from being a successful director to being a successful filmmaker, making big movies and being filled by this idea. I had to stop completely making commercial and think for a moment, for 1 year, for 2 years, before I could go back and say, okay, it's time to go back, but in a different way. And it was very clear in my mind that I should really start doing personal projects that I could share with people that make sense and are useful for people. Yeah, many times. I didn't realize it, but when you succeed in your job as a director, it becomes a lonely place because now people look at you differently. You're not part of the team anymore. You're just the boss or the and I had to adjust to that. And many times in my life, after I divorced or when I, moved places or changed girlfriend, you find yourself alone, and it's not only always the best feeling for me, but I had to learn to function alone as well. Today, I would not urge a young director to go into commercials because we had the good years. Now it's even worse than what we had, and I would say spend 10 years of your life struggling to make a movie is more worth it than spending 10 years of your life successful as a director in commercials. Because at the end, what you want is to express yourself. You want your film to be on screen. You want to see that what you do matters. It's a sacrifice, but both ways it's a sacrifice. If you're successful, you're making great money, but you're doing things that don't matter, then it's a sacrifice as well. It's interesting because the work is what matters. But if through my work they can see a little bit of who I am, that will make me happy. And if what I do affect them in a good way, put them in the right path, change their life, that's what I would be very, very happy. Even if I can change the life of one person in my whole lifetime, I would have achieved what I want to achieve. So that's the beauty of what we do, is that we touch the people, and we can touch them with an emotion, with an idea, with a thought, and that thought could be taken by somebody to another place, and it could change life of many people finally. This chain reaction, and it's if I can do that, if I can make somebody happy, or if I can make somebody think or question, I'm a happy man. That's what
You would have succeeded.
I would have succeeded.